Okay, so today we're going to learn how to do the long tail cast on. You're going to want to put your ball of yarn to the right, and we're only going to use one needle for this cast on. It's called the long tail because you start with a long tail. If you're using DK or worsted weight yarn, which is what's included in our intro kits, you want an inch of tail for every stitch that you're putting on the needles. I'm using much larger yarn and needles for this demonstration, so I'm going to do a little bit more yarn because it'll take a little bit more on the larger needle. So let's say we're just going to start with 10 stitches to practice. You're going to want a 10-inch tail. You're going to hang this strand over your needle. Your needle's pointed away from you. The ball of yarn is to the right. The strand is coming off the left. And we're going to clamp these two strands together. If you watch me again, I'm coming at these strands as if I'm going to poke my hand, and then we're going to spread them apart with your thumb and your pointer finger, and then tilt back. So you're in sort of a slingshot position. The most important thing to remember is to keep your finger on this stitch. This is actually your first stitch, and if you pull on these strands without holding this, you'll lose that stitch. So the next thing you're going to do is go from the bottom up through the strand on your thumb, reach over top of the strand that's on your pointer finger, and pull it down through the hole or underneath that strand that's on your thumb. Then you can let your thumb out and tighten those two stitches down. And I'm now going to shift my finger up to holding this new stitch, and we're going to repeat the process again. If you let go of the stitches, make sure you remember to come at the needle as if you're poking your hand, clamp them together, and then put your pointer finger and your thumb between those two strands and pull them apart. So again, it is bottom up the strand on your thumb, reach over and grab the one on your pointer finger, and pull that one back underneath the strand on your thumb or down through the hole. Then you can let your thumb out and separate those out again. So in the slingshot position, it is bottom up, reach over and grab a friend, pull it down through the hole, let your thumb out, slingshot, bottom up, reach over and grab a friend, pull it down through the hole, let your thumb out. So you're going to do that until you have the number of stitches that you need for your cast on. You want to try to put space between these stitches because it'll make a more loose cast on the bottom. So some troubleshooting, if you cast on too tightly, the edge of your fabric will be really, really tight and it won't stretch as much as your actual knitted fabric. And then you'll also have an issue getting your needle into each of the stitches to knit. So you want to make sure you put some space between these stitches. You want to take the cast on out and try it again, which is always a good idea when you're learning to cast on. You do it a few times. So you'll take the stitches off. You'll start again with the strand hanging over the needle. You'll clamp these two together and go into that slingshot position. And then from the bottom up through the strand on your thumb, reach over and grab a friend and pull it down through the hole. And we're going to put some space between these two. So when I'm tightening it down, I'm actually pulling away from the previous stitch so that it's tightened down a little bit of distance between them. I'll shift my finger up and I'll do that process again, but again, I'll be tightening with some gap between those stitches. That will allow for a really stretchy cast on the bottom for the edge of your fabric.